community, YouTube, all of the places. Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We are 1 minute before some big news. We have the amazing, fantastic Harshit with us here. You know, it's a big deal when we drag him onto a live. So,
Yeah, it's once a quarter, Justin. We do this once a quarter, you and
yeah,
me together.
exactly. It's always a big one, to have you here. So we obviously you're tuning in. So if you're here, you see what's going on. While we let people kind of join in, go ahead and comment what you think this update actually is. This will be exciting to. I, I'm so excited to talk about this, but I want to hear what you all think's coming because it's a big one.
And the best part is, we have something for everyone. I
Yeah.
mean, this is one of our biggest updates that we have done. So we'll have something for everyone. Trust us on this, and this is going to be a big one, a big one
I
indeed.
like I like Casey's answer here. I have no clue. That's perfect. That's the best answer you could have because there's so many things. It's not just one thing. So definitely something unique. Juan Patino, hello Juan, thinks that it's 2 business class round trip tickets to Bali. No, unfortunately, that is not the case. I think this might be better though. So
Yeah, I'm seeing some comments, and
yeah,
not to
this
spoil anything, but some comments, right? I mean, you might be on point as to what's coming.
some might. Adobe Camera Raw support. That's a good request. I mean,
Yes.
that's that's something that maybe could be a thing.
It could be, yeah. I mean, like everything's possible, as I say.
I think hopefully to alter parts of a profile, such as white balance, contrast, etc., manually. Interesting.
Hmm.
I'm so excited to tell you all about this. So I think we're about a minute in, so we can get rolling here. We'll start talking about some of the things. I want to preface this entire thing. You got to watch all the way till the end to find out how to get access to this stuff. So I just wanted to right off the bat, you cannot go download this right now. It's not available to you right now, but potentially by the end of this, you may be able to download it. I don't know. So just stay tuned and you'll be able to find out how to get access to everything we're talking about. So welcome to our biggest update yet. This is the biggest one, that we've had as far as it's not a feature launch, essentially, right? Like it's not launching edits. So it's not as big as launching edits, but it's there, right? It's one of those things that it's going to change everything we do. So shall we go? Do
Let's
you
go ahead, Justin. I'm
Do you want to
excited.
spill the beans?
Sure, yeah, I can. So, first of all, I think July, like last month, I think it's August now, but July marks the first anniversary of us announcing Aftershoot edits. We announced it last year in July, and it's great to see in just 1 year how far ahead we have come with not just the culling product, but with culling and editing. And the roadmap that we have in terms of what is next, it's nothing short of revolutionary. I mean, and I don't want to spill too many beans right now, but thank you so much to every one of you who has opted in for the founders plan, who is using Aftershoot for culling and editing and giving us their feedback, for culling founders and everyone else who's been with us since the inception. Thank you so much for your trust and support. And I mean, we'll always try our best to live up to the expectations that you have from us as a company. And we tout ourselves as a user first company, so we will do our best, me and Justin and everyone at the company, to just do what's right by the users, by you all. So in that regards, again, touting ourselves as a user first company, the biggest request that we received since we announced edits was, okay, it was obvious that it'll work with Lightroom Classic. I mean, it's obvious. It's the low hanging fruit. But we had a pseudo neglected bunch of users who said that, hey, okay, this is great, but we use Capture One. What about us? And let me tell you this, it wasn't easy. We were working hard on this the past, what, like 8 months now, Justin?
Yep.
Right? Numerous emails, numerous attempts to sort of like get a hold of few people from across the industry. But I'm glad to announce, and I'm extremely proud of the entire Aftershoot team, that we are officially the first company in the AI landscape industry in photography to add first party support for Capture One for our AI editing tool. So Aftershoot Edits is now compatible with Capture One. It's still in beta, so you have to understand that, okay, like, please temper expectations. Not everything will work. It's not magic, but we are nearly there. So right now, once we let you know how to download the new version, you would be able to make a profile, edit your Capture One sessions and catalogs from within Aftershoot. So that's the biggest news that we have. So first out of the three biggest news that we have for
Yeah,
today.
don't tune out now if you're not a Capture One user, because there's more to this. There's more pieces, more exciting things. But yes, absolutely, we worked really hard. We're super proud of the team. I want to just verbally shout out the team on this live for anyone who's watching, because they work day in and day out to make this happen. And as Harshit said, it's not an easy feat, right? The Capture One is a totally different beast. And that's why we get to be so excited to announce that we are the first ones who are able to actually do it. Now, this is beta, right? So when we do give you the information on downloading it, it is beta. There's still some things we need to tweak and work on and adjust and adapt. But for those Capture One users, you are able to create profiles and you will be able to edit those Capture One sessions and catalogs. And what we're currently operating in Capture One, you're going to see white balance, exposure, high dynamic range, clarify, and vignetting. So those are our supported sliders right now. And what's coming next is your levels, curve, color editor, black and white, and dehaze, right? So those are all coming as well. So those will be launching very, very soon. We're working on them, but your feedback is vital, again, to this process. Just with Aftershoot edits in the Lightroom process, it's the same concept, right? We need to kind of figure out some of the kinks and things that just happen with specific users in Capture One. So 100% definitely hang in there and help us out with that, because we're super excited to just be able to say that we can even touch a Lightroom or a Capture One catalog. So
And again, just to preface, right? I mean, this was the biggest. I mean, one of the biggest concerns that we had from our users, right, who were using Aftershoot for culling, who were Capture One users, said that, hey, guys, I know this is just a wish. Like, I know it's very hard, and I don't even know if you'll be able to do this or if this is on your radar. But Capture One support would be huge. So, and again, this is us sort of like delivering on your requests and just sort of like ensuring that, hey, like, listen, we are always listening to what you are asking for. And so this is again like, so one out of the three biggest announcements that we have today. So again, it would be available. I have a question that says that, hey, okay, when will it be released? So it will be released today. Hopefully towards the end of this live stream, we will be able to share a link for you to go ahead and download the latest version. If not, please be sure to join our Facebook group. That's where you will be the first ones to know how to get the latest version from, how to use it, and just play around with it. So that's the biggest announcement, the first biggest announcement that we have for today's Lunch and Learn. Uh, Full blown support for Capture One. Not all the sliders right now. We are still supporting the major sliders, but all the remaining sliders are work in progress from our hardworking team, and they should be out very soon. So
it's a
again,
yep.
it's similar to how we launched edits last year in November, right, Justin?
Yep. So session based or catalog based, you will be able to do both. So we've got the ability to edit on both platforms. So whether you're using catalogs or sessions, we'll be able to edit for you. And I'm going to actually go off a little bit here because I don't want you to tune out because you're not a Capture One user. So we are going to show you how all of these features work, but I think we're probably going to just tell you about all the features right off the bat, right? Because there's a lot of anticipation as to what's coming here. So Up next, another really important, exciting thing that we're introducing within Aftershoot is our brand new marketplace. So many of you have discovered some of our pre-built profiles. You had to kind of do some typeform stuff and all sorts of craziness to get them. We're going to show off a marketplace that's available now. So that'll be coming in this update. You'll be able to actually go in, preview, and see what these edits do. See all of the new styles and everything as they're launched. So you'll have a marketplace to actually visit. And that marketplace will continue to expand into more great, amazing things as time goes on. So we're super excited about that. But with the introduction of the marketplace comes the next really cool thing. And someone had mentioned it earlier, so someone, kudos to you for catching it. We are introducing the ability to adjust your AI profiles. So as a photographer, you built your AI profile, you want to tweak some things within that profile. We have two options. You can actually create a fixed value, or you can create an AI correction. So you're able to actually tell it to edit certain sliders or leave certain sliders alone. You can have it automatically adjust sliders on its own, or you can override those settings. So there's a lot of cool things. So stay tuned to watch that. Sorry, I didn't mean to skip in here, but I wanted to make sure that everyone knew this update's huge. It's not just one thing. It's not just Capture One. All of our Lightroom users are going to be super excited to have that as well. And then I'll just touch briefly on the other two because they work better when you see them. But one really cool thing we've launched into that's leading us to the next big thing in culling. We have now introduced a singular slider adjustment. So you can now tell the AI if you want less or more images with a singular slider, and it'll do all of that magic for you. This means that we've built in some brand new AI blur detection systems that are going to automatically understand how sharp of a shooter you are or how sharp this session was, and start interpreting and adapting to those things automatically. So no more need to choose whether it's strict, moderate, or lenient for blur. It's going to know based on the session itself what you actually need. So that singular slider is a gateway to a lot of really cool things coming in culling that you've been requesting. So this is step one, and step two is going to be amazing. And we've also done some really cool stuff with our editing screens, so you're going to be able to check that out as well in this update. So what do you say, Harshit? Should we show them how to do stuff?
Let's do it. I think we have some questions
Flying
popping
in,
in.
I was.
It works best if you see it.
Yeah.
I think it works best if you see it. And there are like other things, other workflows that this enables. For example, Justin just mentioned that you have the option to adjust or tweak your AI profile without having to retrain it, which means that you can essentially, I think Andrew Elder, if you're watching this live, hi, I think he just like asked this question 2 days ago that, hey, can I run just cropping and straightening on my sports shoes and not do any other adjustments? Yes, you can. With this new feature, you can essentially disable all the sliders. You have the option to like tell the AI that, okay, AI, don't touch the white balance, don't touch the exposure, don't touch the HSL, and just run cropping and straightening. So you have that option as well. So again, it enables a lot of like new workflows uh, within your current existing workflow. I know we have already revolutionized the workflow a bit for photographers, wherein we are letting people edit everything and then cull. So I think that's something that is slowly and steadily becoming the norm, thanks to our like again offline accessible unlimited editing. But this is another step up into what is coming next in a way. So yeah, Justin, let's just like jump right in and show these amazing new features.
Awesome. So I'm going to start with Capture One. I think this is a big one because the question is, how do you do Capture One? And this is the really, really cool part. It's the same. So you don't have to learn a whole new system if you were using our edits for Lightroom already. It is very much so the same. So for a new profile, you would simply go through the process as you normally would. And then what you're going to do is click on Add More. Simply go find your Capture One catalog, select
All
it,
session. or session.
Or session. Yep. Sorry. Or session. Sorry. Got to get used to that. That's a new one. And then what you're actually looking at is a revised screen that we're going to go over in a little bit as well for how edits is going to work, how you'll be able to select your images. So in this case, you can choose whether it's a collection or folders that you're looking at. You would simply choose what you want. So I'll choose the whole catalog here. And I'll choose what filters I need. So RAWs, JPEGs, I can select all if I want, if they're all various ones. I can apply the filters, go ahead and upload, and Capture One is going to start doing its magic. So this is huge to be able to do that. And the process will be the same for editing. So I'll go ahead and click on Start Editing. And what I'm going to do now is actually just choose the catalog or session I want to edit. I'll select it. Again, same concept. I may actually not even have anything in this one, so my apologies. But now you're looking at your brand new edit screen. It's going to look the same for Capture One and for Lightroom here. So you can see I have a catalog. All I'm going to do is choose the profile that I would like to use. So you can see now we have a Capture One profile that I created before, and it has the Capture One logo here. So I'll be able to actually choose that profile, and I'll go ahead and choose whether it's cropping or straightening. And then I'll choose those same filters, and I can go ahead and click on edit if I had anything in this catalog. So my apologies for not having anything in that catalog. I am still learning Capture One. So Capture One's a really cool tool, and we're super excited to be able to actually support this for you guys. So again, this is going to be that beta version of Capture One. So we are doing, again, the white balance, the exposure, high dynamic range, clarity, and vignetting. So just stay tuned to those. There's more things coming. As we mentioned, we're just kind of getting it off the ground and doing what we got to do. So again, same process for your Lightroom catalogs. What we're going to do is now show you our marketplace. So I'm going to go to View Profiles. And as you can see, I have my AI profiles. So this screen's been revamped and made a little bit prettier. And when I click on this button here for Aftershoot Marketplace, you're going to see all of the pre-built profiles available and what will eventually be more profiles coming to you in this space. So this is our marketplace. This is where you can really get an idea of what the profiles are doing. You'll notice that you have the name of the profile, a thumbnail of it, and it'll actually tell you what kind of style this profile is looking to achieve. But I can click on the preview button and actually go in and see what these images are doing. So it's going to go through, show us before and afters under this profile. So I get a good idea before I actually proceed with it, what kind of look I should expect out of this profile. So this is huge. We know a lot of you are asking, hey, these pre-built profiles, what do they actually do? This will show you real life use cases of how it's going to edit using Aftershoot and the pre-built profiles.
And just to be clear, these are like just like straight out of edits. SOE, I guess.
Yes,
SOE, right? So they
these
haven't been
are
touched or retouched by us. So this is, I mean, essentially like untouched by Justin or anyone else. This is
yeah,
pure.
these are simply just the sliders doing their thing from Aftershoot. So it'll show you again the before, the straight out of camera, and then the straight out of edits. So you'll be able to really see what no tweaking looks like on all of these profiles, get a good idea of, you know, I know white chocolate was the question everyone said. Everyone loves white chocolate as the name, but they're like, what does that actually mean? And now you kind of get a really good idea of the tones and whatnot that are brought into these files and how they would edit these files. So we're really excited about having this ability to kind of get you guys understanding what they look like. These are now officially open to everybody, so you don't need to do a type form or anything like that. You can go ahead and just open up this new version when we tell you where to download it. You'll be able to open it up and go ahead and simply start using these pre-built profiles. So they are available to everybody now.
And Justin, there's one more thing. In case you find that these styles aren't to your liking and you look in search of something else or something different, we actually have a form that you can fill, which just like you can request which style do you want. In case that, hey, you want like some of a more classic style or moody style, that would help us to be able to again come up with the new profiles. So yeah, just feel free to fill this form up. Don't spam, please. I mean, like, we go through response one by one. But yeah, if you can just like help us by like again telling us what you need, we'll be able to work on that and deliver it. And again, it's simple to use. We also have a companion website launching very soon, in case you want to like just look at the profiles before you download the app. So that's also launching today. So yeah, both these things, Aftershoot Marketplace with the initial line profiles. I say initial because I mean I guess you all can understand where I'm going with. Uh,
Marketplace is a specific word.
exactly. Yeah, we could have called it pre-built profiles. We call it marketplace because wink, wink.
There's lots of exciting things coming from this space. So we're really excited to get you all in here, trying it out, understanding how it all functions. Again, just being able to see these pre-built profiles before you get started, before you go run them a dozen times is really useful. Because again, some people may gravitate towards one specific style. Like for me, I've been loving a lot on like lemon, vanilla, and brownies. These three are like a home run for me, depending on what I want it to do. Gray card's like a gold standard, but these three are like really stylistic ones that I kind of just run on personal photos for fun. And so just being able to kind of see these things is really nice. Get a good idea of what they do before you go and download them.
Yep, and we are using the same image across all these profiles so that you are able to understand what's the difference. Because again, having different images across different profiles doesn't make sense because you know like compare apples to apples. So yeah, I mean
That's a good
that's
idea.
where we're at. We don't have pre-built profiles or marketplace profiles in the marketplace for Capture One just yet, but we're working on it. It's something that again like, we're following the same process as we did with Lightroom editing. We started off with letting you create your own AI profiles, and now we have the marketplace. A similar process would be followed with Capture One as well. It's the same development cycle. It's the same team, it's the same unicorns. So
Absolutely. So that is our marketplace. If you guys have questions, 100% you can drop them in the chat. We will try and get to them as we go through. But I'm going to jump on to the next big thing because this one's a life changer. 100% changes everything for me. And this is the brand new feature of profile adjustments. So to adjust the profiles, you're going to go ahead and click on My AI Profiles. And you'll notice here, there's three little dots now that will allow you to click on Adjust Profile. Now what you're going to see is all of the sliders that are being adjusted by Aftershoot and the ability to do different things to them. And so this is important because there's actually a couple things that you can do. And what this is designed for is to essentially correct your existing AI profile. So if you need to change something, if you feel like it's not warm enough, or if it's just missing on, one slider, you can actually correct it. But also it allows you to totally create a new style by simply inputting direct values. So to give you a good example of this, the first thing we're going to talk about is what happens if my AI profile is just missing the mark, right? It seems like it is just off a little bit. It's not quite warm enough. What I can do is simply let it have an AI correction, and I can warm this up. So I can say, hey, just add a little bit of warmth to these files. And so what this is going to do is actually, when we go and edit, my AI profile is going to run the way it normally would. So it will white balance to blue as I expect it to. But then what it's going to do is add a correction on top of it to that new value. So it's going to simply take the white balance that was created by the AI, so say 3156. And if I add, say, 600 to the 3156, some sort of math will happen. And it'll go to 3756, right? So I added 600 degrees of warmth to it. So it'll increase that by that set number from what the AI did. So the AI will still run and do its process and interpret the way it is, but you're now able to simply say, hey, it's just not warm enough for me, or the white balance seems off. So I want it to just kind of correct to that. This is a useful feature because it allows you to really simply take an existing profile and manually improve it, right? So you can go in and say, I built a profile with 3,000 images, but the contrast is always just a little bit too much. So you can take the contrast down by a little bit. So again, being able to really adjust and adapt a profile that's already working okay, and simply taking it over the top to really fit your style. But what this also means is that we have this other one available here. So this is clicking on a drop down. I can set fixed value. So the fixed value is going to allow you to completely just say, only do this for this slider. And what that means is that if I wanted to set my whites, let's say to plus 13, I can set that value, and every single image that's edited is going to have plus 13 for the whites. So this means that if I am finding some sort of error in the AI, I can simply just set it to a specific number if I'd like. Or if I want to go ahead and just build a new style. So let's say I built a profile on an older style and I want to come in and I want to change specific things. So I decide that now I'm going to always change my greens. The hue of my greens is always going to be plus 24. I can go ahead and make it a fixed value of plus 24, and it'll always input that. So I can essentially create that style that I'm looking for by simply overriding everything that I had done before. So this is absolutely a really powerful tool. And it also just gives you the ability to tell it what you want it to edit. So I could always just say, hey, I'm going to leave the temperature and tint, but I don't want you to touch the contrast, the highlights, the shadows, the whites, the blacks. I can tell it to not edit any of the other things other than exposure and white balance if I want. Or in the other case, I think Andrew, not to call you out, Andrew, but you were looking for specific things. You didn't want it to touch the white balance because you're using manual white balance, right? So you can actually turn the white balance off and let it do all the other adjustments that you're looking for. Or you can have it leave the white balance and exposure alone and simply go ahead and touch everything else that you would like it to get a tonal look, but have your exposure and your white balance left alone. So these tools are super powerful to basically be able to say, do it my way, while still harnessing the power of the AI.
Just add something real quick. So as the old saying goes, with great power, with great responsibilities, great. I don't know. I mean, I'm a boomer here.
That
With
saying, yeah.
great power comes great responsibilities. So it's very easy for you to mess up the profile this way as well, right? And I think Andrew asked that, hey, why didn't we just like have everything in a single screen? The reason for that is we didn't want to confuse people, because if we have everything in the same screen, people might know what's affecting what. So we wanted to have everything as isolated and separated as possible. And you have to understand that this is a very powerful feature, but it can drastically impact how your edits look. It can shift them in a positive direction and a negative direction. So you have to be very careful with what you adjust, and only adjust this if you know what you're doing. And if you're not happy with your edits, if you're happy with the edits, just like this, that's great. Nothing like it. Awesome.
Yeah,
But
it's
just
very
keep that
easy.
in mind.
Yeah, it's very easy to go too far with this. That's why we want, again, we wanted to have it so that you weren't going through and totally doing it. And now what's really cool about this though is if you make one of these adjustments, you can revert to default, right? So if your AI profile, you've already got it existing and you decide that you're going to change a bunch of sliders here, you're going to go fix all the AI problems and stuff, and then you go and run it and realize it's a total train wreck, you can simply click revert to default and it'll swing it all back to the original. So it won't, you can undo what you've done. But like you said, it's a great power, right? You can absolutely, this can be a huge tool to really improve what you're looking to do, but it is pretty easy to think, oh, I just need to correct the AI by like 500 degrees. And then all of a sudden everything's super yellow. So it's very easy to take it too far. So we definitely recommend, kind of tweaking things as you go. So let's just say if your profile doesn't seem to be performing the way you want, I wouldn't come in and try and correct all the sliders at the same time. I may start with one. That way you can kind of isolate what's happening. So you can say, okay, I just want to increase the warmth, run it, see what happens, see if it warms it up. But then let's say your shadows are still too dark. Then come in and tweak the shadows a little bit to kind of compensate for that. And so again, it's a little bit easier way to take a profile that maybe isn't performing the way you expect it to and really taking it over the top. Or like I said, totally shifting style. We've seen people say, hey, I want to just like totally, I'm building a new style. I want to do something totally different. So that's where you can really, take some of these tools. But again, just know that it's very easy to do something that you didn't want to do, but it is also pretty easy to go back to the default.
just to piggyback on what Justin just said, I think we've had some people who want to like have a different style altogether. I think what you can do is, if you notice that hey, your style has changed significantly in the past few years, you can use the AI for white balance, right? Just use the AI values for white balance, but for everything else, you can use a custom correction or a fixed value from within Aftershoot. That way, you're ensuring that your white balance and exposure is determined by AI, but everything else is what you want. So, yeah. I think someone has a question. So, if I set the white balance to 5000 Kelvin, is that adding 5000 Kelvin or setting the white balance? So, you can do both. Okay. Uh,
The first,
Justin,
yep.
yeah.
Yep. So this is your first. So if I'm saying AI correction plus 333, that's going to simply increase what the AI has done. So if the AI was editing my white balance, for a session and it was 5600, more or less, right? Like 5600, 5700, 5500 in that range. All of the photos from that session. If I add plus 333 to it, what's going to happen is the AI is still going to take that 5500 assessment, 5600 and 5700 assessments, but it's going to add 333 degrees to that existing AI adjustment. So it's going to now make the 5833, the 5933, and the 6033. So it's
Just
going
a
to, yep.
quick note. I think this only it's only applicable if you have the AI correction selected. So I think
Correct.
if you can
So
talk
that,
about that a bit, that would
yeah,
be helpful.
that's what I'm talking about. So the AI correction, that's what it's going to do. So the AI is going to run and actually add an additional white balance to what the AI has done. So this is a great way to correct the AI. Let's say you have a session. You can use this on like a single session too, right? Because you can revert it. So let's just say that you went into a scenario, you ran edits using your AI profile, and you found that everything was like 500 degrees too warm, right? So it was just, you were correcting it always 500 degrees cooler. You can use this to let the AI still run the way it was. So it'll still do its automatic adjustment to the white balance. But then I can come in and say, all right, now what the AI has done, I want it to do minus 500 to all of that. So now the AI will still go through, edit the photos the way it would, and then it's going to dial back the total white balance across all of the images by 500. So it's going to essentially still make individual edits and do that. Now, the second half of that question was, is it going to just set a straight up number? If you were to set fixed value, you can actually tell it to white balance a specific temperature. So you can say, I want it to white balance at 4025. And I think there's something going on with this slider, but I could tell it to white balance at 4025 for all of the images, and it'll just apply that specific number to all of the images. So that's the fixed value. The correction is actually going in and correcting it. And so a good way to kind of look at this is, if you have an AI profile that already exists and it's too cool, you can simply use the AI correction to kind of warm it up a little bit, right? However much you think you're constantly updating. Like, let's say I'm always adding 100 degrees warmth to every photo. I can just make it go 100 degrees warmer to what the AI is already doing. But if I were to walk into a scenario where I really wanted to change something in the presence for my profile, so I decide that my new style or something that I want to always do is have the saturation to +5, because I want a little bit more punch within these photos. By using the fixed value, it's going to make the saturation +5 on all of the photos. So every single photo will have +5. So there's two versions of how you can use this feature. It's fixed value, or letting the AI run and correcting the AI to do a little bit better.
It's both. As I said, like it has a lot of potential.
Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, should we take some time to answer a few questions? I do see
Yeah,
a bunch of
absolutely. Let
questions.
me
Yeah.
pause my screen share here, and I'll come back and join in. So, wow, lots of comments. I missed out on a lot here. So I will scroll through. All right, so we got questions about Capture One, actually, right? So we didn't quite get to this. Or is this, didn't Dennis? Are you Capture One? I know the slider are limited, but those sliders are not supported. Impact the AI training. For example, if the white balance looks very, very magenta because the color editor, is the white balance trained off to compensate for this? So this is a Capture One question. This is going back to that original Capture One. So for this, all of the data you use to train for us, we will have, so that as we roll out these improvements, we'll be able to retrain your profile and include those sort of things. And so in the case that the white balance does look very magenta because of the color editor, the white balance is going to train off of what actually came in, right? So if you trained your profile and you had the color editor correcting something, our white balance model is going to learn as if that magenta was fixed using that color editor. We just can't use the color editor, right? So it's going to essentially edit it as if the color editor was there. So one way to overcome that initially, like at the first launch, is essentially building some presets that only touch the color editor, right? So you can actually go in and correct those sort of things, so that you can just apply a basic value until we get support for that.
Just to add one more thing, Justin, I think again, one thing that as we're beta testing the current version of the app, we noticed that for some users, the Capture One edits were very different from what they usually edit. And a simple reason for this is the slider that we don't support, specifically the levels slider. Right, they were using levels slider a lot, and the AI wasn't touching that. But they noticed that as soon as they adjusted and applied the level sliders, the AI editing was almost perfect. So just note that, hey, if the AI editing is not up to the mark, up to how you edit, just make sure that, hey, you are adjusting the other sliders as well. Because the sliders that we don't support, we'll just leave them as is. We won't touch them. We won't compensate for them. So your edits might look different, but it's just that, okay, we don't adjust those sliders. That's what it is.
Are the profiles updated? The pre-built profiles, are they updated if we have the Typeform version, or are the style profiles the same? So they will be the same. They'll just be replaced. So you'll just kind of see a new look to them. So they'll have that thumbnail and everything. But yeah, they are currently the same styles. We keep winking. There's stuff happening. So stay tuned for that. And let's see. We got this is a great question. So we get this question a lot. How long is the founder deal kind of going on for? I see this question often. The founders deal, it's
On its last legs.
yeah, we're pulling the plug very soon. So Capture One users, if this interests you, definitely download it and just kind of get your feet wet and see. At the end, like I said, we're going to tell you how to get this version. Definitely try it and see if it can get you, if it feels like it's going in the right direction, because you won't have much time left. So that founders deal, that's why this is one of the things we were holding out for, right? Was to try and get the profile adjustments and the Capture One editing available, so you could again just see some of the power that we can offer you guys as we continue to grow and add stuff to it. So definitely. Ooh, another Capture One question. Dennis, you are on fire. How many images to train for Capture One? So minimum of 2,500 photos. So again, the more the merrier, the more situations we can understand, the better we'll be able to actually edit your photos. But yeah, so for Capture One, 100%, 2,500 is the minimum, whether you're Capture One or Lightroom, to really get it off the ground. But more images will obviously produce better results. And I actually have a fun experiment. I'll tell everyone about my fun experiment. I actually built a couple different profiles. I built one with 4,000 photos. I built one with 12,000 photos, one with 57,000 photos. And of course, the 4,000 photos was a little bit dark and not quite there yet. 12,000 photos was a home run. It hit everything on the head. And the difference between 12,000 and 50,000 images, 57,000 images, was almost nothing, right? So once it had really gotten learned in from the 12,000, it had the right variety in all the different situations. It had pretty much locked in there. It didn't really, it picked up on a couple like edge cases, like, you know, some of the really obscure white balance issues that I would have where like flash didn't fire. It started getting better at that sort of stuff. But really the difference between 4,000 and 12,000 was massive. So again, the more the merrier, because it really does get a better understanding of what you expect it to do. Chip says, Harshit, check your inbox.
Sorry, I replied to him already. I was like, dude, I'm in the middle of the life.
Yeah, so we'll get that. Let's see. The adjustments are huge. Wow, so many comments. Sorry, guys. When I'm sharing my screen, I can't actually see these, and I don't know that Harshit can see them either.
I can, but I cannot like pin them onto the screen. I'm not
Oh, okay. All right, let's see. This is a great question here. Can you duplicate the profile to have a warm one, cold look, for example? So duplicating profiles, that's not something that we built into the application yet. So you can't necessarily duplicate them. But one thing you can go ahead and do, as I showed before, that screen, it's really easy to revert back. So let's say you're using the profile corrections. You can say, hey, warm this thing up. And then on the next session, you can just go back in. And actually, I didn't even get to show you the improved profile. There's a separate button when you complete edits as well. So you can actually simply go in and use the improved, like launch right into that screen once you've completed editing. So there's ways to kind of just do it. But yeah, we don't have a duplication for profiles built into the app just yet. Let's see. I think this would require some round shipping. Let's see. When we add catalogs to improve the profile, will it? Sorry, these are questions galore. When we add catalogs to improve the profile, will it adjust these sliders for us, or is it a manual change we'll need to add? I'm assuming this is about that, about the updated things. So what happens is, let's just say I run, say, 1,000 photos through, and I've used the AI profile adjustments to warm up an image, right? So I've warmed up an image set by, say, plus 500. When I go retrain that, it's going to start learning that back, right? So it's going to start understanding that the profile needs to warm up. So essentially, it's just a way to kind of fast track it. So instead of having to manually do 500 edits, or edit 1,000 photos and warm them up 500 degrees, the AI is going to do that. You do your normal corrections, you click improve profile, it'll upload that catalog, and the AI is going to start taking in that information and understanding to warm it up. So this is also another really important point to this. If you're running those AI profiles, right? So let's just say you run your AI profile and you run a correction to it for a specific session only, you may not want to use that to improve the profile, right? So let's just say that you went to a session. I was using this example the other day. Like, I went to a session, I overexposed a lot in this session because I had to use a lot of high ISO stuff and I wanted less noise, etc. So it wasn't my normal style. But what I actually did is I used this correction value to drag down the exposure a little bit. So I let the AI run, but I always underexpose usually. So it would normally +2 or +1, +2. I never ever overexpose, but I had to this time. So I used the AI correction to do that, but I'm not going to retrain my profile on that because it's not a circumstance I want it to really learn. So that is that question. I think we answered that one.
We should probably do a Q&A, like just one lunch and with just the Q&A.
Yeah, I you know what? We can do that. I'll try and get to a lot of these questions because we also do still have to talk about the culling preferences.
Culling improvements.
So we definitely want to get into that. But I will open up the floor. I'll schedule another live in the group this week so that you guys can start asking questions and get a better feel for how it works.
And we'll go through the comments, post the live, and answer as many questions as we can. Just
we
talk about the consistency layer as well.
We didn't even talk about consistency layer. Oh my goodness. Okay.
We went off the script, dude. We went off the script.
I know. I'm sorry. So we're going to dive back in and show you more stuff. We will come back to a lot of these questions. I will try and answer them. I know Harshit has other stuff happening, so he may have to leave the live at some point, but I can try and go through the comments as well. I can hang out as long as you guys need me. So we will definitely run through all of this. So let's dive into some of the other things that you're going to see for the first time. So I am going to start a culling project the way I normally would. So same old process. We're going to find a session here that we can run culling on really quickly. Here we go. So I'm going to import from this folder. And I'm going to click on start culling the same way I would before, but now voila, you have a brand new screen available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys what this actually means. There was a question early on about sports photography. I saw someone was asking if we've improved sports photography. We're still pushing out updates on sports photography continuously. That's kind of our focus genre, as well as another one that I've alluded to before with some wildlife and stuff. But sports is one that we've been kind of continually pushing on. So you will see some updates to sports photography in this one as well. But we're going to go ahead and this is an other session for me. And you're going to notice this now has a singular slider. It says automated AI cull. And so what we've done is we've gone through and figured out what some of the most accessible and best settings are for specific sessions. And now we have the ability to just choose if we want the least amount or more, or a standard amount of photos within a cull. And so this is really a gateway, right? This is going to open up the future for a lot of things, because we started introducing some models that we're looking for some feedback on, and again, trying to understand how they all work. One of them specifically is blur detection. So you're going to notice there is no blur detection slider here. We're automatically learning how you're shooting when we start the process. So we understand what your threshold is for the optimal amount of images based on how sharp they are for your shooting style. Every cull you run, it runs this process through, and it'll start understanding, okay, this session, they didn't really hit focus a lot. They were at like 1.2 and everything was really soft. So we have to kind of lower the bar here. Or if you were in a studio session, it's now going to understand you were at f5.6. So like raise the bar to the tippy top. So it's a more reflective and adaptive blur detection system. But this is part one of what's going to be a lot of cool things that a lot of you have been requesting. But we needed to get this out first. So this is really easy. I don't know how to explain it anymore, other than few, more, and standard. So it'll just automatically do those things. Now, if you want the old settings back, so the old things that you used to have, you're going to go ahead and click on Customized AI Cull. This screen is a little bit different as well. So here you can actually turn on and off your sliders as you would. We have the duplicate groupings. You'll notice they're a little bit different. So you're going to see that it now says small groups, standard groups, big groups, and large groups. So we kind of reworded some things, and we use some different visual cues here to show you what it means, right? So you have 2 small groups or 1 large group on this end, to get you to kind of understand it. Probably the saddest part of this update is that as of right now, I'm no longer here. So
Coming back, Justin, you didn't shoot
I
shots of your
I was supposed to put pictures there. I will come back. If enough of you request my beautiful mustache to be here, we'll go ahead and put it back in there. So, but yeah, we'll put my face back here. It just ran out of time. But yeah, so you can see again, just a different look to how these duplicates are grouped. So you kind of get a good understanding of what it's looking to do. We also have the ability to override that auto blur system. So as mentioned, we are doing the auto blur. We wanted to make sure that you could still really customize it based on your past settings. So these are still here the way they were. And so that is kind of some of the big pieces of this, right? This is a shift away from what you're used to. So you're going to kind of open it up and say, this is different. But again, you can go through and this is the gateway to the future.
Justin, the results, would they be more or less the same, or?
Yeah, so you will expect very similar results. So when you're using this automated AI cull, to put it in its simplest terms, few is going to be a lot like running it on, like, say, loose and strict for the blur. But again, the blur is going to be automatically detected. So it would be like loose and less for your images, and more would be a little bit more in line with running it on, say, like similar and identical and less. Right. So we've just kind of adapted some of the settings. But again, it's more intuitive and there's more specific individual learnings. But you should expect very similar results at the beginning of this experiment, other than blur. Right. So the AI blur, that new blur system, should hopefully be improving. So you'll actually be getting better results with blur detection with this. But you should expect your groupings and whatnot should be somewhat similar if you were running those different settings. So you may want to run this on a couple different on one session or a couple sessions in the different settings to really figure out where you want to be. To understand, like, few is going to be that loose setting, right? It's going to try and put a lot of photos together, which for my particular shooting style isn't what I'm looking for. I actually run it on standard. So you may think, like, right off the bat, yes, I want the least amount of images, but you'll find that you may be missing out on some different poses that get clustered together because it's really pushing hard to put things together. So again, you can still customize. You'll get the exact same results here, right? So you'll expect if you were to run large groups, you're going to get the same duplicate grouping that you would before. But yeah. So that is the magic happening in culling. Now you got a little bit of a sneak peek at what this new editing screen looks like. So I want to show this off as well. So we're going to connect our catalog here. Now you'll notice you're not having to do the verifies phase anymore. So remember, you used to have to click and choose the catalogs, choose your profiles, do all that magic and stuff before you got to the next screen. It's all on one screen now. So there's no need to go through multiple screens to get your editing off the ground. Again, this is just that kind of gateway into all the next things that are coming. Some of you have been requesting some specific things and they're on their way. But so here I have replaced the words collection and folders with icons. So I can still use my collections the way I would before. I can collapse this and choose that collection to edit if I'd like. And on the side over here, you're going to see all of your AI profiles on this screen as well. So I can choose to edit under lemon here. I can choose to crop and straighten. You're going to notice that the color profile on the pre-built profiles is now changed. You're unable to change this for the pre-built profiles because we noticed some people were getting some results that were unexpected because they were using different color profiles. So we went ahead and changed that. You'll also find that auto apply my most used editing profile is now grayed out as well for this specific one, because what's happening now is we need to apply specific sliders to achieve the look. So again, you're going to notice that these are a little bit different. These options are now grayed out. Now, if I were using my own profile, I would absolutely not experience that, right? So I could run my own profile and I can turn off my most used preset as I expect. I can choose my color profiles, etc. So it's only when you're using the pre-built profiles will those be gone. Now there's a brand new toggle here. This is called our AI consistency layer. And so many of you had requested or had issues with some variances within your image editing profiles, particularly your own profiles. This consistency layer is a brand new feature that we've introduced to kind of help make your scenes look a little bit more consistent. So, we had gotten the request, hey, there's some variations when, say photographing family session or family portraits at a wedding in one specific location. I never changed location, but I'm noticing that there's some variances here that I'm not interested in having or whatever it may be. This consistency layer is designed to solve that. So we're looking at the ability to essentially make the most consistent edits across scenes now, which is a really, really cool feature, especially if you're experiencing some fluctuations within particular scenes. So
we'd love to get some feedback on this, on how this is working for you. If you notice any improvements, maybe like try editing with and without this enabled, and let us know, because it's something that we've again working super hard on the past like 3-4 months just to get the settings dialed in just right. So yeah, I would love to like get some feedback on how this works for you, or if there are any changes that you think can be made to this in particular.
Absolutely, this is a really really exciting thing. I've been playing with it. You've probably seen some of my Facebook posts. I've been playing with all of these different features, minus Capture One because I'm still learning that. But I've been playing with all these different features. So there was a picture of me rollerblading. I used profile adjustments to like make the clarity and the texture and all of these sort of things raised up for those specific photos. So again, just playing around with these features, they're extremely powerful and a lot of things are happening. So this AI consistency layer is really cool because it's just making editing a little bit more universal for those scenes. As a zoom photographer, I generally am not changing lenses, but I am changing my zoom amount for these types of photos. So it's really nice to have it, be a lot more limited in how much it's actually changing these photos across an entire scene when I zoom in, zoom out, etc. So cool feature. Definitely excited to have you all play with it and try and give us some feedback on it. And then you would click start editing and let the magic happen. So let's try and answer some questions. I'm about halfway back on the chat. I didn't move on.
Let's ask a question. I think a bunch of people asking.
There's lots of questions.
Very interesting questions. I noticed we passed like 100 questions quite a while ago.
So I am going to pick up where I left off. So here we go. When adjusting the shadows, for example, does the AI do a correction for the possibility of overexposing? So when you're using that AI corrections button, what's happening is the AI corrections are actually going to take the existing what's happening, right? So if this is where that great power thing comes from, if your profile is running perfectly on exposure, but you're going to raise the shadows across all the images, it has the chance to make them feel a little bit overexposed. So this is where, again, you can say, okay, I'm going to raise the shadows, run it on some test images, and then determine if I need to have it AI correct the exposure a little bit to bring it back. I can say personally, I didn't have that issue just because I underexposed so much. So there wasn't a major shift in exposure because I actually ran it. When I went to mirrorless, I found that I was bringing my shadows up a lot. So I just ran an experiment to run all my mirrorless cameras with a lot more exposure, which was pretty cool. And it kind of corrected for that. Actually, I forgot to show something in the edits. We're gonna have to run back to that quick. So yeah, absolutely. You may need to play with it and do some of those sort of things. I am going to say thank you to whoever you are. It is the pride and joy of this company is the unicorns and the mustache. It has its own insurance policy and everything. So can the adjustments be made to the preset profile like Lemon, or can the presets be copied to make a profile that can be edited? So currently we have the improve and the adjusting profiles disabled on those pre-built profiles. So you're not going to be able to run them on them right now. It is a possibility that it's something that will open up in the future. But we did find that with initial testing, we wanted to add some extra protections and barriers in there before we allow people to do that, just because there's some things happening when you do those corrections that maybe decrease the performance of them. So we will hopefully be doing something with it, but it's something that it's not available at this time. We've kind of restricted those profiles a little bit more. Eugene said, so in essence, AI correction is AI results +3. Correct. And fixed, it's a defined value. So you hit it right on the head. And this is a great question. How is profile correction different to adjusting in Lightroom batch sliders in loop view? So it is somewhat a similar concept, right? But what we're doing is essentially letting the AI still run and then having it all done so you don't have to do it. So you could, in theory, just go through and in loop view, just batch them. But we have every single slider that Aftershoot adjusts as well. So that's kind of the profile correction difference, is that you can actually just peg out different ones, because I know in the loop view, there's only like 5 or 6 that you can use. Like I think it's like highlights, shadows, whites, blacks, and white balance and exposure, right? It's like just those basic ones, but you can actually do this for every single slider we adjust. So you can AI correct your hue, saturation, luminance, whatever it may be, within that screen. So similar concept, just a little bit different. Let's see. If I lock in the vibrance for +20, will the AI try and compensate for that or override it, or is it done in the fact as AI? When you lock in the vibrance at +20, if you use the fixed value, the AI is going to just plug in that fixed value of +20. So the AI is and to answer that, it's not going to try and edit the rest of the sliders differently, right? It's not going to do anything differently. It's quite literally just going to put in +20, and all the other sliders are going to act the way they would normally act. So it's something that, again, should be used with a little bit of diligence, understanding that if you're going to, like, say, raise the clarity, you're going to expect a lot more contrast in an image, and the AI is not going to compensate for that. And I was just told that I'm going to talk for 20 more minutes. Should I have...
Because special surprise going to be ready in 20 minutes.
Should I have different profiles for inside and outside? The AI white balance is great inside, but very yellow outside. That is extremely unique. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say the white balance is awesome inside and bad outside. It's usually the opposite way. I would say if your editing style is essentially the same, right? So if you're not changing anything and it's just white balance that's off, one thing I would recommend doing when it comes to improving the profile, use the improve profile feature, right? So click improve profile and try and only upload more exterior images to start, right? So if you know it, correct your white balance on those images, and then try and upload just the outdoor images if possible, so that it's getting more of that information to understand it needs to learn better outdoors. So a lot of people try and improve with all of their images, which is okay, but ultimately when you improve it, think of it as kind of like glasses of water. If you have 2 glasses of water, your profile images and then the new one that's edited, you're kind of diluting the amount of information that the AI gets when you dump that newly edited set of images in. So the more water or images in one cup, when you start dumping them in, those changes you make start valuing a little bit less the more you make changes. So that's why it's better to take, say, 5,000, no, 5,000 is a big number, but 2,500, let's say, outdoor images that you've corrected and dumping them into your cup, because those 25 will hold a little bit more value to the overall profile than if you dumped 5,000 where 2,500 were indoor and 2,500 were outdoor. It would then say, okay, now the amount of water, that the droplets of water would be less in that bigger cup at that point.
Professor Justin using like science metaphysics. I didn't see the side of you yet, Justin. Where was this side?
Let's see. This is a great question. Can a sequence of similar images have their white balance values averaged together? Do that natively, but so yes, AI, what it's doing is that AI consistency layer that we just talked about. It's not doing that exactly, but it's looking to be more like that, right? So it's looking at overall values. It's still allowing some fine tweaks in there and some small things, because that does seem to be a pretty consistent thing. It's not very often that somebody can paste across 500 images the exact same white balance settings. But essentially there's some small variations in there, but this consistency layer is looking to kind of really dial that back in and really get you closer to that. So that consistency layer will be very cool. You will definitely do it. This is a question. If I have an existing profile in Lightroom, can it be used for Capture One? It cannot. Unfortunately, there is no way to port them over. They're 2 totally different systems in how they operate. And that's why it took us so long to really kind of get through the Capture One process. So your profile will not transfer over, unfortunately.
I do know, Justin, there are certain tools that let you sort of like, transmutate your Lightroom catalogs into Capture One sessions. So, again, we don't endorse any of those tools, but you are free to like experiment with these tools and see if you can get your Lightroom catalog converted into a Capture One session, and then use that session to build a profile and see if that works for you. That is an option, but again, we haven't tested that, so we.
I actually have tested that.
Oh, okay.
I did use a converter to try and convert some Lightroom catalogs into Capture One. I did not have great results. The input did not look anything like the Lightroom ones did, so I definitely struggled there. But there is tools available if you can find one that can kind of get you close enough. Again, my understanding of Capture One was somewhat limited, so correcting these images, like the things that I thought were off, I wasn't able to do. But yeah, it's definitely something worth checking out. Andrew's got a great question here. Improvements to the previous workflow, both culling and edits. Right now, that is not really a thing. So you're not going to find that we've improved that flow. You still have to go through the process of we did improve the edits portion, right? You're not going through multiple screens, but it does still have to be in a Lightroom catalog for us to edit them. But again, this new screen is kind of a gateway into all of the things that are about to come next. We had messaged before, your thing is coming soon. Let's see. We're going to skip that question. Many people, when is the update out? Hang tight. We're going to tell you very soon. This is a good question. So, are there any culling side improvements, particularly looking for additional types of photography to be better supported, such as travel, landscape, and other things that are not so focused on people's faces as the barometer for good and bad? So these are things we are working on, right? So we do have a lot of categories in the pipeline, different things, different features. As I had mentioned when we were kind of going over culling, we're hyper focused on the sports aspect right now and just improving that sports pipeline a little bit. And then we have another aspect that's got nothing to do with people coming shortly after that. And then following that, we should see some more updates from there. But again, the more feedback you guys can kind of give us, we don't love it in the Facebook community because then it gets kind of cluttered with all sorts of stuff. So it's always really helpful if you can just message us or email us and say, hey, these are some examples, here's some images. The more information we can have, the more we can better understand the problem that needs to be solved. I myself am a terrible landscape photographer. I took really beautiful pictures of waterfalls and architecture in the past, and that was great. But I don't go out much anymore, so I don't have good data sets to really, understand what a formally trained landscape photographer or travel photographer is looking for. So the more you guys can kind of give us feedback, the more helpful that is. Somebody's just pulling our legs. So, maybe it's to this. Maybe can we discuss the awesome mustache? Yeah, anytime. Any questions? All in. Judy has a great question. Can we use different camera bodies, different lighting situations when creating a profiles? I've seen where we should include studio lighting, cloudy, sunshine, etc. But when I was in my Zoom meeting, they suggested I only use the same camera body all the time. So that is not true. Right. So you don't have to use the same camera body. I shoot on DSLR and mirrorless. They edit differently, but I'm giving it lots of examples of the imagery. So it just, again, it's learning all of these different editing things that it needs to understand. So like when I transitioned from the DSLRs to mirrorless, I had to do some tweaking to those profiles to really get them to edit the same. But now they do. So you don't necessarily need to go in and separate out by camera body or anything of that nature. As long as you're giving it a good variety and amount of imagery in there, that's great. But there is one stipulation to this. Some of you may have noticed that there's some restrictions on certain camera profiles. So if you're using like a Canon XT3, or sorry, a Fuji XT3, the Fuji X-T3 is a camera that uses a very particular color profile inside of Lightroom that doesn't translate to other cameras. So your edits from a Fuji X-T3 will not function on other camera bodies as expected. So we've added some features to kind of prevent you from trying to go through with editing incorrectly, so to speak, on these other photos. So the white balance, all these values are totally different and kind of like randomized, so to speak, for a Fuji X-T3. That would not be the case with a Fuji X-T4. So those two cameras, their profiles aren't compatible. So that's something that they may have been chatting with you about, but yeah, you can absolutely, if they're like similar cameras, you can absolutely include them all in the same profile. Just again, make sure you're giving it a good amount of images, because if you're editing a little bit differently on a Nikon than you would a Canon, which is expected, you need to have a good amount of data from both cameras for it to really understand what it needs to do. Let's see. Sorry, scrolling through here. I wish you had an event photography option. That is definitely something we can discuss. It's probably pretty similar to weddings, but maybe no kiss detector. So definitely,
You never know.
yeah. if we know what we really need to focus on, so Ben, you can always message us or email us if you have specific things that you need to see. Let us know. Fabio is my favorite right now. Fabio, yes, I know. We'll get it back. You won't have to miss the mustache for long. Love the streamlining of the automated process. Yes, it's really cool. So this is a lot simpler to kind of get started, right, Andrew? So we're looking at ways to just make you kind of get, from point A to point B a little bit faster, not have to choose all these settings. Just really let the AI kind of take over. And again, as mentioned, this is the gateway to the future, right? So there's a lot of things that are building off of this in the future. So we have a whole bunch of other things that you guys have been requesting, specific number of things that are coming down the pipeline because we have the ability to do this. So lots of stuff coming. Justin. I think that's probably regarding my mustache missing. So we should probably bring that back. Dennis, gateway to the future. We are the gateway to the future. Definitely. And if it seems like I'm delaying, it's because I am. We have about 11 minutes left, our shit?
I'd say around 6 to 7 minutes.
6 or 7 minutes? Okay, cool.
Awesome.
Yes.
Justin, we do have we did have a couple of questions that came in via email as well.
Oh, cool. Do you want to?
Yeah. So, yeah, let me just quickly go through those one by one. So I think we have already covered a few questions. For example, the question like, okay, can I use the marketplace styles slash profiles in both Lightroom and Capture One? So unfortunately, not right now. Right now, the marketplace is open to Lightroom profiles only. But that being said, this may and will change in the future. So just stay tuned. uh, the other question was, are there any additional costs associated with the new AI styles in the Aftershoot marketplace? Justin, do people
That's a
have
great
those
question. So those pre-built profiles are all 100% free. So we built those. You can use them. They're all yours. We can allude, I guess, a little bit to what's coming in the future. There's some specific partners and people who will be offering their individualized profiles in the marketplace that you'll be able to purchase. So there's going to be two facets of the marketplace. There's going to be the included stuff that once we launch pricing, you'll get more information on that too, on how so if you're a founder, you're getting those pre-built profiles, of course, and then there's going to be different pricing again tied into this marketplace and how that all works. So just stay tuned. But yeah, you can absolutely go ahead, download these profiles, use them unlimited as expected. They are everybody's to play with right now.
Exactly. So I think the marketplace profiles, the 9 ones that we have right now, they're like free for everyone for now, and for the founders who have opted in, it'll remain free for you forever. But for everyone else, there would be a cost that would be unveiled later down the line as we announce pricing in the upcoming few weeks or so. So yeah.
And then, so Eugene actually asked a question that we kind of, I saw it up above and I missed it. So he's back. Yes. So noise reduction settings, where if images are ISO 3000, greater than 3000, less than 3000, fixed value at 15. So you can't go in and actually like dictate those sort of parameters. So you wouldn't be able to go in and say, with this profile correction, I couldn't go in and say, okay, if I shoot less than 3000 ISO, noise reduction set to 15. And then at above 6400, it's plus 30. Or you couldn't do it that way. What you could do in theory to overcome this, if your profile was trained that way, so if your images kind of work that way to get started, it's going to take the ISO into consideration when it's applying the noise reduction. So you can actually just use the AI correction to kind of ramp it up. Or the other thing you could do is if you were to go ahead and just segment them in Lightroom before you get started, you could set a fixed value and run it again. And I'm going to show you, because we actually skipped a screen. I skipped a screen when we were talking about editing, and I think this may help you a little bit. So we'll go back to sharing the screen here, and we're going to head all the way into a project that we were just starting to edit. So we're going to click Start Editing. Now, over here, you're going to see there's 21 filters applied. So when I click on the filters, you're going to see them all up here. But you'll notice that all the cameras are down here. So I can actually choose to change, what cameras are being edited. So I can edit a specific camera with specific, settings in this set of images. So I had that ability. And then what I'm going to do now is actually just run this edit on the 114 photos. And you're going to see how this can actually be a pretty simple workflow for you to go through and actually change some parameters and make some adjustments. So it's going to edit. And when my editing finishes, what happens is I can now actually use that adjust profile feature from this screen. So this is a really cool feature. So you'll see it says adjust profile up top here. So I can actually come in now and do the same overriding correction. So I can go in, like you said, to the noise reduction, and I can set a fixed value for one of these sliders if I'd like. So I could set it to plus, 54 or whatever I want. And then when I come back, I'll save the settings on it. And then when I come back to home, I can go ahead and run that editing again and run it on a separate set of images. So if I had a different collection of, say, the images that are above 6400 ISO, I could use this as kind of a hack to get around that, because it does allow me to do that if I'd like to. And then I could run that while I'm running that same profile across the images. It runs through again, and I land on that same screen, and I can adjust the profile again. So there are ways to kind of, do a workaround to make that sort of a thing happen. But natively within the profile adjustment screen, you can't set those parameters. So you can't say if, like, for instance, the white balance is below 3100, add 500 to it, or etc. And then just also so you guys can see, we moved an improved profile button over here. And now you can actually see the profile name used to edit, the color profile, whether you use cropping, straightening, and whether you use the consistency layer or the most used preset. So that information is now available to you when you've completed your edits as well. So again, sorry, we kind of skipped out of there to answer questions, and I didn't get to show that before.
Let's take the last set of questions, Justin. We have like a 4 or 5 last questions. Let's take them. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Dennis, I think, was talking about my science project here. So question here is, can I build Capture One profile from Nikon Z camera files? Yeah, absolutely.
Should be possible, yeah.
Yeah.
Should be possible.
I know that there's ICC profile stuff. I was talking with Abhinandan, who gets a shout out here. I was talking with him about some of those things and how they would be used. So I think that those specific ICC profiles are something else entirely that we're working on. But yeah, you can build from files. Fantastic. Will there be any masking soon? All I can say is this was a really, really big update. We know masking is coming. I'm not saying it's not coming. This was a really, really big update, and there's a lot of really, really big updates coming. Just the roadmap. We got to play it close to our chest. There's people watching. But the next couple months are going to absolutely revolutionize how you use Aftershoot. Just some of the things that are coming are amazing. This was one huge update, but there's another huge update and then another huge update. So super excited for you all to see what's coming. Absolutely amazing. I saw automotive albums in your grid. I see that might be coming at some point. I got a bunch of motorsport stuff if y'all need some. So Ritwick, one other amazing engineer of ours, has been doing an amazing job on some motorsport stuff. So that will be a category that we expand into soon.
Just just quickly touch base on one thing, right? So I mean, we have all these improvements, and that is considering that the app is still in beta. So again, I think we made some strides that are like bigger than other folks in this industry, wherein okay, it's still a beta product. We don't need to move as fast, but we want to do that because we want to understand all the issues that we have with the product sooner than later, right? So it's one of our motto to sort of move fast and try not to break things. But I mean, in case things break, we are always up, and we make sure that we patch those things as soon as we can. But just want to preface that edits is still in beta. Capture One is still. I mean, this is the first launch.
We're still working on stuff. Yep.
Yeah, we expect there will be bugs, but that's a good thing because the sooner we find bugs, the sooner we can solve them, and the sooner you can have a bug-free application. So, yeah.
I shoot Sony. My edits second shoots Canons, and they look good. So I think that was a reply back to earlier. I want to see Casey's hawk. So post a picture in the group, Casey. If it's culled and edited by Aftershoot, that's a bonus. But show us some hawk pictures. Definitely want to see it. Let's see. Can you confirm that our trained profiles will have no input on purchasable future profiles? Absolutely. So, privacy is a big thing. We take it really seriously here at Aftershoot. So, there is the ability to turn off your AI culling preferences, right? That whole, or the AI culling learning, so that nothing goes up to the servers. We take every bit of this extremely seriously. We are really proud as a company. We don't use any of that data sharing, any of that stuff, right? So if you're training a profile, your own custom profiles and stuff, if you've ever reached out to me personally to ask me to help you with anything, I always ask you if we can download your profile, if I can transfer it to myself to test it and see what's going on. So there's no big pool of everyone's profiles doing anything like competitors and stuff. Your profiles, everything, it's respected to you. It's safe. We're not in the business of stealing everyone's data and using it for other things like other companies.
There are better ways to make money. We don't want to sell your data, mine it for money. So
So you no longer have to worry about that. So yeah, absolutely. Or you never had to worry about that with us. But it won't. Your profiles won't impact future purchasable profiles or anything like that. So none of the pre-built profiles are based on anyone's work within your personal profiles or anything like that.
I want to quickly shout out Carl from the team who has Carl and Leon who have sifted through over 40,000-50,000 images and hand edited them, right? So all the pre-built profiles that you see are the result of our team members sitting down again burning their eyes in front of a screen for weeks and weeks on end trying to get the perfect profile created. So it's all sweat and tears, I guess. I mean, so it's none of your we don't because again everyone is different. So we respect the privacy, we respect the creativity and artistic touch that you have, but we wanted to give our own touch to these pre-built profiles as to what we think should be, right? Because we have tried what's available out there, and nothing could uh, come as close in terms of consistency, because that's the biggest thing, right? You want consistency with AI, because if it's not consistent, there's no point. And we know we are working on some big changes when it comes to consistency, hence the consistency layer and so on and so forth. But with our pre-built AI profiles, consistency was a big thing that we wanted to aim for, and I think we have nailed it pretty well for a first launch. We have updates that are happening to all the pre-built profiles as well, but keep an eye out for what's next.
Awesome. Casey wants to know about that founders deal. It's still available. It's not for much longer. So you do have to reach out to support if you want to get on the founders deal. It's not publicly available. All right. We'll answer the rest of the questions in the chat because I think it's time to wrap this up and tell you guys the most important thing that you need to know. So as mentioned, this is beta. Capture One users, this is all beta. We are really, really super excited about this. Before I even give you the opportunity to figure out where to download this, I want to make one thing very, very, very clear. Make sure if you download this new version, if you have some bugs or anything and you want to try and revert back to an old version or anything like that, you have to go through in-app support because there are specific steps you have to follow to uninstall. Otherwise, you'll lose things and computers will get crazy and it's unhappy. So 100%, we're going to let you guys go ahead and download this version now. Harshit's going to tell you where to download it. We're going to download it now, but if you do need to go backwards for any reason whatsoever, you do need to reach out to in-app support. So without further ado, where can they go download this update right now?
So the moment we've all been waiting for, to get access to this latest version, you just have to go to aftershoot.com/downloads. So just search for download Aftershoot on Google or go to aftershoot.com/downloads. and the latest version with all these new fancy bells and whistles is there. So you have access to pre-built profiles, Aftershoot marketplace, capture one editing, profile adjustments, simplified culling screen, updated edits, filter screen, and so many things which is out right now for you to try. We know like some people got on a beta version of this, which had some issues with tone curves. That is fixed. So if you again, for all those people, if you go back to aftershoot.com/downloads and just download the latest version, that should have the tone curve issue patched as well. So yeah, that's essentially what we had in store for July that we're announcing in August. We have some more things that are being launched in August, specifically with respect to optimization and speed. So we'll probably do a similar live towards the end of August, talking about those changes as well. For people who were not able to join us in this live, it is recorded. It is like up on Facebook, on YouTube, and everywhere else. So you can always watch it there to get to what was discussed. If you were running the beta, you can just go to the download page and update it again. Like updating is fine,
Yeah,
but
you
if you
can
want to
move
go back,
forward. You just can't go backwards.
yes, you can, but there's a specific step
There's
to do that.
specific steps. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just get in touch with support, and we have again one of the only companies that can tout a 24/7 support within the app. So it's faster than asking question to me or Justin or in our Facebook group. We are there if you want some help, some assistance that the support cannot help you with. But in-app support is the best place to go for if you have any questions, any issues, or whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we try and let everyone's posts go through as much as we can, but we also don't want it to just be in-app support because also I monitor the Facebook group mostly. So there's a lot of stuff going on. You may not get a response for 4 or 5 hours from me. So you definitely 100% in-app support is the way to go. So thank you guys all for tuning in. We're so excited that you all joined us for such a long and amazing update. And we're really excited to hear all your feedback and see how you like it. Like I said, any questions, go to in-app support. They're there for you. They'll be able to help you with any bugs or any issues you may face. And enjoy.
Awesome. Thank you so much.